Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. As the US struggles to recover from the effects of smoke inhalation, auditory damage, and visual impairment caused by the celebration of 250 years uniting states together, one stark question looms. In all those 2.5 centuries, why didn't we build more memory factories? I guess hindsight is always 20/20, but looking back, it's still a bit fuzzy. Speak of mutually assured destruction, nice story, tell it to Reader's Digest. I'm getting distracted, but perhaps, given that many of us are sweating bullets about the long, hot summer ahead, or an upside-down summer if you're in the southern hemisphere, some distraction is what we all need. Speaking of which, cheers. And no, I don't mean warmed over GPUs from 2021 Nvidia, I mean some actual diversion and amusement amidst the relentless onslaught of PC hardware shortage updates and general doom and gloom. But that's why I recommend this series, to keep yourself abreast of all that distasteful stuff, delivered in a compact format and seasoned with an occasional pun or jape to aid digestion. The PC hardware landscape has changed after all, but what hasn't changed is the tech news.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Thermaltake's Wood Series cases, adding a touch of warmth and style to a variety of existing chassis designs, such as the TR200WS, seen here in the white snow finish, showcasing light-colored wood-textured accents while maintaining the TR200's core features, such as easily removable side and top panels, magnetic dust filters, and support for an optional 6-inch LCD screen. Black cases like the TR300WS are paired with darker maple-inspired accents for a warm and stylish aesthetic, and of course the case still includes a tempered glass side panel, excellent airflow, and support for 360mm radiators for AIO or custom cooling. Thermaltake's WS chassis lineup includes other cases from the View series and more, so for further details click the Thermaltake Wood Series sponsor link in the video description. We begin with a huge announcement, just massive. Nvidia's latest consumer GeForce GPU is available at last. An actual GPU for PC gamers is it the long-rumored RTX 50 Super Series, the fabled RTX 60s whose performance boggles the mind? No, none of those. It's actually the Ampere-based RTX 3060 12GB, which has launched, again, for the same MSRP it would appear that it launched with more than 5 years ago in 2021. $330 if you're lucky enough to scoop this MSI model, though the Gigabyte WindForce OC version that popped up first was going for $340 and is out of stock now, or alternatively being scalped by marketplace resellers. Gigabyte has listed a new revision 2.0 for this card, and it seems the rumors were true and these GPUs are in production yet again. While there was no formal announcement from Nvidia, likely because it's an embarrassment to them and an insult to PC gamers to even do this, and also because Nvidia seems pretty embarrassed to even acknowledge the GeForce consumer side of their business at all these days, leaker Megasize GPU claims this debut means the also rumored RTX 5050 9GB is either cancelled or permanently delayed, which seems like the same thing to me. But I have a confession. While it pains me to say it, this might have been all my fault. See, a while back when the AI contamination was just beginning to spread, I might have directly suggested to Nvidia reps that with data center chips eating up so much of their booked leading-edge fab capacity with TSMC, perhaps they could offer budget gamers an alternative solution by bringing back a GPU from a previous generation that uses chips built on a slightly older process. And this RTX 3060 relaunch meets that criteria, to be sure. Now, to be clear, I don't really believe this. I don't think I have that much sway with Nvidia, and they haven't emailed me to say thanks for the good idea or anything, but I did say those things to them. But I also suggested that it could be a gift to budget gamers for an entry-level price, and a $330 RTX 3060 is definitely not that. Bring it down to sub $200 and it would be a whole different story, because as I've said many times before, there are no bad GPUs, just poorly priced and positioned ones. If you're really considering a $300 to $400 GPU purchase right now, the alternatives are numerous. The 10% faster RX 7600 8GB for $280, the RX 9060 8GB for $360 that's 50% faster, or even the 9060 XT 16GB for $420. Even the RTX 5060 and 5060 Ti 8GB can be had for about $340 or $370 respectively, so I'm guessing Nvidia is aiming this card at people who want a 12GB equipped GPU for local AI work, which would mean that yet again a potential budget PC gaming solution has been rendered DOA by AI. Speaking of AI, you might feel like there's nothing we can do about sky-high memory prices right now, but perhaps Litigation is the answer. Late last week, an intrepid group of 17 plaintiffs filed suit against the three biggest memory fabricators, Samsung, SK hynix, and Micron, alleging cartel-like behavior and collusion to artificially inflate DRAM prices when they simultaneously cut production in order to shift resources toward HBM production for AI data centers. The suit was filed in the Northern District of California, but the plaintiffs appear to be spread across the US, with 14 individuals and 3 small businesses named, including a couple in Florida. The filing also cites the price-fixing judgment the US Department of Justice brought against those same manufacturers back in 2005, which resulted in 2 of them at least, Samsung and Hynix, paying $731 million in criminal fines, as well as prison sentences for executives totaling 3,185 days in jail. I don't get too excited about the idea of execs being brought to justice though, because a similar class action suit from 2018 was dismissed as the alleged cartel-like behavior was more likely explained by lawful, unchoreographed free market behavior, and there was no evidence of an actual agreement. If you keep hearing wildly different takes about the ongoing memory and storage shortage though, you're not alone, but here's what I think is really going on. On one hand, you have the relatively small group of very large and powerful businesses who are doing very well because of the shortage. Memory fabricators, Samsung, SK hynix, and Micron, of course, Nvidia and AMD and their support network of enterprise hardware manufacturers, and the AI companies themselves, like Anthropic and OpenAI, who are driving demand, which is inflated and boosted to an incalculable degree by hype and speculation, because hype and speculation drive share prices up, inflating the bubble that everyone knows that bubbles eventually pop. So the take you'll hear from these businesses is that we're at the beginning of a long, expensive road, and that memory prices will surge 50% in Q3 2026, and another 40% in Q4, with no relief until 2028 at least. Or you might hear that Micron has locked in these high prices by signing 16 strategic customer agreements with their big partners, because a strategic customer agreement definitely doesn't amount to price fixing or collusion. No way. But personally, I see these bold statements as no more than bluster and a clear sign of weakness, betraying their actual looming fear that the bubble's deflation may be upon us sooner rather than later. Those who are profiting from the present market situation desperately want to keep the gravy train going as long as possible before that time comes though. My theory is perhaps bolstered by reports of reinvestment in more consumer-oriented DDR5 production, as SK hynix is doing, or a general public pushback on data center buildouts, which has gained much momentum in 2026. But I am admittedly biased, as I would like gaming PCs to be affordable again, and the truth is no one really knows for sure what's going to happen. So let's continue to hope for the best, but plan for the worst, and if I may quote the infamous George Carlin, you don't need a formal conspiracy when interests converge. Speaking of a formal conspiracy, if we secretly work together, I think we can reveal what's in these tech briefs. Relaunching old hardware like the RTX 3060 12GB isn't inherently bad, it just needs to be not insultingly priced. Though I have a feeling this won't be the last attempt we'll see to bring back past generation parts as the shortage wears on, and case in point, Intel, per rumors from Channelgate, appears to be restarting production of their 13th and 14th gen CPUs, possibly also including 10th and 12th gen as well. The main reason is DDR4 compatibility, as 10th gen LGA 1200 CPUs were DDR4 only, and 12th, 13th, and 14th gen CPUs are DDR4 compatible if you get a DDR4 motherboard, and motherboard vendors are also reportedly starting to churn out DDR4 boards again as well. So I am hopeful that more DDR4 choices will reduce DDR5 demand and perhaps convince DRAM makers that they can't just squeeze the consumer market forever with shortages. There are alternatives, and while the quote from Channelgate says 10th and 12th gen CPUs will be particularly abundant, which sounds nice, for now the resupply efforts seem to be focused on mainland China. Hey, Intel, more DDR4 options on a global scale would be very good news right now. Speaking of Intel CPUs though, 2 that were arguably the best they've launched in years, the Core Ultra 7 270K Plus and Core Ultra 5 250K Plus are, sad face, going up in price. Intel has confirmed this per Hardware Lux. It's not just a rumor, and we're looking at a new $230 MSRP for the 250K, up from $200, and the 270K will now be $350, up $50 from the original $300 launch price. These CPUs were quite well received when they launched back in March, as Intel priced them aggressively and clawed back a lot of performance by increasing the die-to-die interconnect frequency, but they were also overshadowed by the memory shortage and the fact that the LGA 1851 platform was on its last legs, soon to be replaced by LGA 1954 for Nova Lake, which now isn't expected until Q1 2027. For me, these two Arrow Lake S CPUs were more of a hopeful indication for how Intel would approach the Nova Lake launch, and while these price increases are disappointing, I still remain baselessly optimistic. Speaking of baseless optimism, were memory manufacturers really hoping that even more specialized and rare DDR5 was going to make a big impact on the memory market? ULL, or ultra low latency memory, was announced at Computex just over a month ago, and for the AM5 platform they have specialized EXPO profiles that run at very low latency, as the name suggests. AMD claimed about a 4% improvement for 1080 gaming with ULL memory, and the response I saw most was, okay, sure, I'll take 4% more performance if it's free, or at least the same price as currently grossly overinflated DDR5 kits, and pricing parity was heavily implied as well. They expect to bring these in at effectively the same price points that the current kits are at, said AMD VP David McAfee, but in reality, Newegg is now selling 32GB DDR5 memory kits for over $1,000, making $400 to $500 32GB kits seem quaint by comparison. That makes the $1,100 CL26 ULL kit 57% more than its non-ULL counterpart, the $1,000 CL28 kit a 79% increase, and at least more modest 10 to 14% bumps for the C36 and C30 kits, but with those timings, is the low latency really even ultra anymore? Speaking of non-ultra things, I have one last announcement. No tech news is allowed to happen this coming week because there will be no tech news show next Saturday. We're taking a 1-week break to further enjoy the summer, and tech news will return on July 19th. But yes, there will be other videos that I'll put out in the meantime. And there you have it, guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all of the articles I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested, and you can check out my store at paulshardware.net for high quality merchandise like t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video.